Hey family! Have you ever felt stuck in a situation? Come on, a situation that made you feel hopeless or defeated or destroyed. We've all been there, but the important thing is not to stay stuck. Come on, not to stay feeling hopeless, not to stay feeling destroyed or broken. Listen, I've got an amazing friend, Carol, that is going to share her testimony with you today. Man, you're going to want to watch to the end because this is going to bless you. I promise. I'll be back in just a few minutes.
I came out of a bit of a critical religious environment, and I was so sensitive that I always grew up feeling like I was a little bit less than. I was always the child that they had to correct, and they were always reminding me that they had to correct me. And my parents loved me, but they just didn't understand what they were doing to my spirit. My name, my given name is Carolyn, and that means, biblically, it means woman of song, godly woman of song. And so I was born singing. I was singing on radio at 11, traveling at 14 with college groups, and I've just always sang for the Lord, always. And I learned at an early age that if I would just close my eyes and sing to Jesus, He just welcomed me into His presence. I didn't really even understand what that meant, but there was just this sense of connection and peace and real joy that I didn't feel in my everyday life. So I think it was never about performance. It was always about coming in and being into His presence, even when I was too young to understand. I was actually on a worship team at a church. My husband and I were both very active in everything in the church, but yeah, I had probably been singing every Sunday for 10 years at that point. I actually had a growth in my throat for probably 8 years, and the doctors kept misdiagnosing me. And by the time they found it, I had to make a choice of either having that thing radiated or surgery. And so I chose the surgery. I went to a mentor, and when I told that person that I was going to have surgery, he spoke over me, "Oh, don't do that, don't do that. I've known many people, singers, that have done that, and it's wrecked their voices, and they've never recovered." When he said that over me, even though I laughed at him, I felt something pierce my soul. It's like I took it in. But after I did the surgery and I realized that I couldn't sing, that they had somehow damaged my vocal cords in the surgery, I kind of went through almost a grieving process where it's, at first you're like, you don't believe it. And then you're kind of mad about it. And then you're sad about it. But I could never get to the acceptance part of it. I didn't really feel like I could talk about it, because I felt like I should be thankful that I had my life. Others weren't so blessed. Everything else in my life was so good. But I immediately went back to that feeling less than, ignored in a room. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're on stage and everybody knows you and everybody sees you, and all of a sudden you're kind of a nobody. When I was a child, and until I had this surgery, when I was talking to someone, I heard symphonies in my head. I heard oboes and cellos and pianos and trumpets and violins in my head. I always heard music in my head. And I was probably 3 years after my surgery before I realized that the music had stopped in my head. And it was such a death. My name means womanly in song. It was such a death to me. And sometimes you you try to move on, but you're kind of stuck, you're just stuck in a place. Our pastor started doing a series on Alpha and Omega about how God wants to be at your beginning and he wants to be on the throne of your Omega at the end of something. Probably almost at the end of that series, I began to have this dream. And in this dream, I'm in a house that I lived in Dallas. And it was a big house. And when you walked into a staircase and a wall. And then the house separated side to side. So in my dream, I'm in this house. And I'm trying to figure out how to open the floor plan up, how to open it up, to make it more accessible. So you'd have to walk around in circles to go places. And I kept having the same dream over and over and over, night after night. I went to Pastor Casey and he said, Carol, when you have a dream about a house, it usually always reflects the church. Something's happened to you. When I started talking to Casey about the dream, all of this stuff about how I feel like I haven't done everything for the Lord since 1994, that I've missed God. Even though my heart's been right, I just feel like this big chunk of ministry and it is gone, and that I've disappointed God. So when I met with him, he said, when you have a dream about a house, it usually represents something that happened to you in a church. And I'm thinking, well, I've loved every church I've ever been in, never left mad, never left disappointed. And then I remembered that person speaking that over me in the church. And I said, that has to be what it is. He said, that's exactly what it is. And you took his words, and what God was just wanting you to stop for a season, you put his words on the omega of your heart and you sealed it. And I said, well, I don't want to do that. And so we just immediately prayed, and I released that to God and asked him to forgive me and put God on that throne where he's right, is his rightful place to be. And just walked away and thought, well, that's good. It sealed something in me, in my heart, like it's finished, a finished work. Well, like 3 days later, I get a text asking me to help with worship a week away or something. And I'm thinking, okay. And I got up that Sunday and did worship. Now, I had a huge range. I don't have that range. And, but I felt that same sense of belonging and being in the presence of the Lord, where you're not worried about it. If your voice cracks, you're not worried about how you sound. You're just in his presence. You're just being obedient. I just felt that sense of finishedness. That's not a word, but fulfillment, and knowing that even though it took me a long time to get to that place of understanding what I needed to do with that, I'm there. Look for your testimony. If you love Jesus and you walk this earth, he's putting a testimony in you. It isn't small and it isn't insignificant. It brings Jesus to their situation and it changes them forever.
Oh my gosh, wasn't that amazing? Man, Carol just said something that blessed me so much. She said, look for your testimony because that's what's going to change somebody's life. Come on, whenever somebody else looks at your life and they know that you just went through the same thing that they're going through right now, but Jesus brought you out of it. Come on, it takes Jesus right into their situation. It brings hope to them. Come on, that's so good. Thank you so much for being with me today. And hey, listen, If you're in that situation right now or a similar situation, maybe you feel hopeless, please reach out. I want to pray for you. Leave some prayer requests in the comment section below, or you can send us an email to info@stoneministries.online. I'm so proud of you. You're doing better than what you think you are, I promise. And I love you. Yes, you. And I'll see you next week. God bless you.